I forgot something.
Sure.
Forgot to turn off my phone. Okay, we are live. Welcome to the show.
Welcome. Hey, Dal. Good morning or
Good
good
morning
afternoon.
or afternoon for you, and afternoon for me too.
Yeah.
And to our guests, which we don't have any guests today, but to the listeners, welcome to the show. This is our sixth show. We have no guests with us today, so Leslie and I talked earlier, and we have a couple of things on the agenda we want to discuss. Among them is what was it?
Spirituality. What is
Spirituality. That's what
spirituality? And then we wanted to parlay into what we were talking about before, like discerning what you can trust and not trust on the internet.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Anyway, welcome to the show. I'm Dale. This is Evan Leslie, and we're ready to go.
All right.
So, spirituality, what is it?
So, well, what's your take?
My take on spirituality deeply. It is a love that is deeper than normal.
Okay.
What we would call, between a love between a spouse or a love between a child or whatever. But it's deeper than that, and it goes towards the spirit or God, or if you choose, or Yahweh, or whatever name you choose to call God. When I was doing a lot of AA back in the early days of my recovery, they were using Gumby, the little clay animals, as their God, and that was okay. They called him Gumby, and that's
Yeah.
fine with me. Whatever you call him, he's still God. So, and it's that connection at a deeper level, at a cellular level.
Yeah.
With that,
So
with that.
what's your definition personally for God or the whatever higher power you believe in?
Pure spirit, God is pure spirit. But he is, everybody has their own vision of what God looks like because nobody's seen his face since Moses.
Yeah.
However, God is all seeing, all knowing, omnipotent, omnipresent. Um, he is a kind, generous, loving God. He's given us free will to do things our way, and if we just mess them up, it's our problem. We have to deal with it. But he will forgive us.
Yeah. I know it's the thing. There is no wrong or right answer.
No,
I don't know. To me, I just, you know, I never paid any attention to spirituality before I uncovered my own in around somewhere around 2020. But I realized I was a very much spiritual being, spiritually awake, but asleep to the fact that I was spiritually awake. And that was kind of the message that I was given. I believe my soul was to go like, hey, like even a kid that didn't even know what they were doing, like was spiritually enlightened and not knowing it. But to me, now that I'm aware of it, I refer to a voiceless voice that I've listened to my whole life. Whether that's intuition, to me now, though, I'm looking, going, that's like whatever's out there that's bigger than us. And I think of spirituality as taking the armor off if you're wearing it, making sure you're not wearing the armor, remembering who you are, and then forgetting who you are. Because when I walk through the world before I spiritually awake, I had no ego. I mean, seriously, it was to this day, it's always still we, but I always wanted better for whoever was with me because I kind of just had knowing that if their life was better, if they felt better, then it was better for me. And I think for me, spirituality it's more about energy, and that there's something outside our own visible world we can see that guides us. And now looking back at my life, I see that voiceless voice was something bigger than me, whether it was my higher self or whether it was spirit guides or God. I don't know. I, since I left work, I mean, that voice is what has saved me. in times. And I didn't even use the word, okay. I was using these because they're hurting my eyes, but I can't see it. But I never even used the word before, probably a year or two ago. I mean, I'd ask God one time, can I like refer to you as love? So I don't have to use the word God. And I think because I had so many near-death experiences in childhood, I probably told people about it, and they were, adults shut me down. So I went, yeah, they're God. But yeah, it's just, from what you see out there, do you think we're misinterpreting or selling spirituality to lead us to a bad place, to a misguided and not pure place?
Yes, I do to a large extent. I see it being misused and corrupted, and because of the way the climate change, not climate, but the way
I
that
know what you're saying, culture, climate, or whatever.
the culture climate is, and what's going on in today's world, not just in America but worldwide. This cultural change, this shift, this paradigm change is happening.
Mm-hmm.
And it's corrupted, in my opinion, and it is getting us down the garden path to
Yeah.
something that's going to cause a lot of problems. I've been saying for years and years and years that there's going to be a major upheaval in the United States. It's going to cause a war.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not
Yeah.
going to be a civil war like we've had before, but it's going to. What I see happening is the United States breaking up into each little sections of the country, becoming its own country, like California, Texas, the South,
Yeah.
the Northwest, the Midwest. Each one's their own little fiefdom, their own little country. And they're fighting each other for control.
Yeah. And that's what it is. It's all about control. And spirituality is all about giving up control.
Right.
Like, it's about knowing who you are, not necessarily your experiences, but it's just knowing you're safe with yourself. And the only way we can do that is to see ourselves, to take the armor off. We were talking earlier, so many people don't even know they're wearing the armor. But if you can't see yourself, you can't feel safe with yourself. And you can't tap into that higher energy, that voiceless voice for me, if you're shut down. If you're protecting yourself, you're also blocking yourself from that quote unquote spirit guides, or whatever you want to refer to it as.
However you want to refer it, everyone has one.
Yeah, there is no wrong or right. It's what you believe. I will say this though, and I used to tell my kids this, and I didn't think I was referring to God, but I always said, you have to believe in something bigger than yourself. Because if Dale feels that you're the only one that is guiding your life, that's a friggin' scary, huge load to carry.
Yeah.
Because you can't control like that. I think that's what's taught me about the last 4 or 5 years, is that like sitting and waiting. Like people say, what are you doing? I'm like, waiting. It's the hardest thing I've ever had to do is sit and wait.
Yeah. Oh, it drives me nuts.
Yeah. It's because you're like, but by sitting and waiting, you are giving over control, that there's something out there.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, but for me, an easier way to look at this, I used to look at people, including myself, as like the 5-year-old, right? So whenever we misbehave, it's not the adult doing anything wrong. They're scared and they need to be comforted. But I now look at people as souls, right? And my definition of a soul is just like, it's an energy, that when you die, the energy of whatever the non-human physical part of you carries on into another physical body. And so I always look at people and go like, okay, yeah, they're different, but their soul came here with a different purpose. We all come at different times. So we're not all going to grow together. We're not, I don't know. And what the spiritual centers that I've been to, and they're rather large, well-known ones, the things they're saying, it's all about manifesting and being great and and they throw in love occasionally, but I've heard the preacher, whatever you want to call him, say like, well, there are people we will be the enlightened ones, and then there are those that aren't. I'm like, no, 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 that's not spirituality. We don't want to
No,
like separate us even more. And I think that's what the spirituality thing is kind of doing. It's going to separate us more,
that
you know?
is part of the corruption I was talking about. Is it making us different from each other
Yeah. And that
instead of
is the,
putting us together as a, okay, you're a human being, I'm a human being, therefore we are.
hmm yeah. And I've gotten so frustrated because that's my message. Like, we're not here to sell to one another. We're not here to help one another. We quote unquote help one another by holding a space to allow us to be ourselves and to see ourselves in other people and to know that there's a deep level of connection. And when you touch literally someone's heart and you look in their eyes, you you feel those words. And that's
Mm.
the only way I think really people can, and that's why I want to go cross country and do this, because that's the only way you can truly grasp how deeply connected we are.
You suggested that I get up each morning and touch my heart.
Yeah, touch your heart. And
I
I do
haven't,
it in the mirror.
I haven't been real good at it, but the few times I've done it, it really, there is something there.
Yeah, there is. There is. I mean, I go to strangers, and if, as I said, no, when people were wearing the armor, and I never realized this, when I came out of work in 2017, I kept saying how much I created a safe space. And then all of a sudden, I went into the business world and the management and nonprofits and all that. I wasn't creating a safe space. I could feel people were, I was making people really uncomfortable. And I'm going, for a while, I thought it was me. I'm like, what am I doing? What am I doing differently? And then I realized it wasn't anything I was doing differently. I was just dealing with different people. People in trauma,
Hmm.
they want to be open. They know they're hurting and they want to talk about it. So my authenticity was inspiring to them. People who are hiding from their own pain, I don't bring a comfortable space to. Because they see in my open heart, they can see themselves and they know they're authentic, but they're not being authentic.
That's the
You
whole
know?
purpose of this show.
Yeah,
This
I
part,
know, and that's why and we'll talk about spirituality. Can I share what we talked about this morning with the
yes,
feedback?
yeah, go ahead.
So one of the things that's been really hard for me, I spent my entire life asking questions and listening to people, and the way I lived is like I would ask questions, take in the information, sit for a long time, and kind of just observe and figure it out and try to put pieces of the puzzle of us together. And then when I was confident and I had experienced everything I was going to share, I would go out and speak and share it. So in the past few years, when I came out to be a speaker, it felt really wrong for me to talk all the time. I'm like, no, I'm supposed to be asking questions. And I got that voiceless voice would say, no, now you need to share what you learned. So Dale got feedback that last week that I need to let him speak more. And I knew, because I had said to you, like, I'm so sorry. But since I'm really open, and open, I mean, no protection around the heart, it is what it is. I channel a lot. And I'm looking back, I channeled much of my life because I don't remember a lot of things. So I told Dale, we were trying to figure out. Let me start this way. I asked Dale, I said, how did it make you feel? He goes, I was enjoying listening. I said, okay, let's do this then. Because I don't want to shut what's channeling down. When I channel, they're my words, but really it's coming from someplace higher because when I feel that happening, I can't stop it. Like I try, I have a conversation in my head going, shut up, let him talk, let him talk. But it just keeps coming out. So, you know, as people do get more tapped in and tuned in, that may happen more with a lot of us. And so, so Dale and I agreed, like if he wants to say something or if he's not interested, in if I'm just ranting and he's not interested, it's not value, then he's going to say to me, like, whatever. I said, just say to me, stop channeling, and I'll like go switch off. But yeah, Yeah, I'll apologize a lot when we do that because that's not who I've lived my life as. You know, bless you, or not bless you. How about you? Do you experience channeling?
No, I don't.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah, I bet it is. I'd like to. Uh, I don't to call it channeling. There are things that I just know I need to say.
Yeah,
You know, when I was working as a counselor, and I'd had this client, and I could read him like a book, just innately. Just never seen him in my life, never seen him once they leave the group. But I know him. I understand him. I know where they're at. I know what's going on with them, and I know what to say to him and how to say it to him.
yeah. That's channeling. That's something intuitively. So
Yeah.
it's whether it's channeling your higher self, but throughout my life, that was really hard when I came out of work and they're like, well, what'd you do? How do like people you work with have 30% better life income? Like, it was a 2 hour conversation. I don't know. Like, I don't somehow just instinctively, intuitively, by opening our hearts, we know what each other need. I'll say like, it's a gift for me because I've practiced it my whole life with my heart open, but it's a gift that I truly believe each and every one of us has inside of us. I mean, I've seen thousands of deliveries, and when those babies come out, they're magic. Like,
Mhm.
they are great. The armor that we slowly and seriously put on in childhood because we don't feel safe to speak our truth because someone judges it, that slowly covers up who we are. So truly, self-awareness is not about learning anything new, it's about unlearning everything we learned and just taking it back to who we were when we came into this world,
Yeah.
you know, and who we are. I've seen it, you know, we talked this morning, I'm sure there are evil people. I've only seen one person, and I think I shared it here. It was a child. It was like a 4 or 5 year old, and I just looked at him like, oh God, that is like not a cool soul. Like, but besides that, Dale and I talked about this too, and I think this is common with a lot of people in trauma. People who've had trauma are very like we're really good on cueing in on whether people are telling us the truth or not,
Mhm. Oh
and
yeah.
whether we should trust them. I think where we get wrong is not wrong, but where we get thrown off is we don't trust that we can trust ourselves, right? That's the key.
No.
If
Well.
we would, people in trauma trusted their own gut, they wouldn't keep ending up with the same people. But we don't trust ourselves because we've been with people who have knocked down, who have, um, but what was I with trauma? One of the things I saw happens in systems, and it's people who are covering up who they are. I don't think they mean to do it. They just don't know. But the truth of others makes them really uncomfortable, and then it's almost like narcissists. I mean, the whole world really, when you look at it, is like narcissists and codependents. And like, yeah, people codependents are usually, not often, sometimes authentic, but narcissists know how to get what they want in the world. Codependents don't. and
That's
and
right.
that, yeah, we don't, because our heart is underneath. Even if we were like passive aggressive, the heart is pure
Hmm.
because we're doing what we do, we love. But that's, I think, was supposed to be. I don't think trauma was an accident. I think trauma was a gift given. And what I think my story is a testament of is that when we don't take experiences personally, that those experiences don't stay with us forever.
Well, it's my belief. I've taken several classes on this on grief and loss issues. It's my belief that it never goes away.
Yeah.
It's different, but it never
Yep.
goes away. The grief is going to be there. So the grief of the trauma, the action that caused the trauma, the grief is going to be with you. That's
Yeah.
what we have to learn.
I agree. And I agree mostly because it stays in our body. Like, our sympathetic nervous system is part of the autonomic, and autonomic means like your body responds automatically. You can't stop it. If I smell something from when I was not feeling safe, all of a sudden I'm not going to feel safe. My role is to go, ooh, I thought I was having hot flashes all my life. I'm like, damn, they started when I was 30. They weren't hot flashes. I wasn't feeling safe. So my body was going into like all of a sudden breaking out in a sweat. Like I know that now. So when I break out in a sweat, I'm like, hot flash, or why am I not feeling safe?
Yeah.
You know?
My, I also believe, you ever heard the term body memory?
Yeah, it's kind of what I'm talking about. The
Yeah.
autonomic, yeah. Yep.
But the body remembers
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
will react to certain stimuli that is similar to the stimuli we had that caused the trauma.
Yes. Yeah. That's what, and it could be sight, sounds, smell,
Smells.
words, whatever. Something just triggers inside us, and you can't stop that triggering.
No.
But you can notice you're being triggered and go, okay, baby, that's where the hand on heart. I am safe. The world's a loving, accepting place. Just vision and feel safe, but just like a weighted blanket, when your hand is on your heart, it feels comforting, you know?
It does. I notice that, like I said, the times that I do it. I'm not real good at doing it every day yet, but I'm getting closer and closer.
Yeah. Well, it's the
Uh,
same way you send love. This is how I learned to send love. I put my hand on my heart and I would just push out, and I was just sending people love all day.
mhm.
You know, I don't even the spirituality, right? The spiritual center I go to, they do this like to welcome new people, and I'm like, you know what that sends subconsciously? Nope, don't
Stop.
come in. Stop. I
Stop.
go like this. So they're singing songs. I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't do this because. But that's what I'm talking about, standing your truth. I'm standing on stage. Everyone else is doing the thing, but I don't want to do this because subconsciously that means stay
Stay
away.
away.
Stay away. So I do this. And here's how we learn from one another. I've seen people in the choir start doing this a
Hmm.
lot. I didn't tell them to do it, they
Yeah.
just watched, right? And that's what we're here for each other, to model for each other
Hmm.
in, instead of judging one another, you know?
Human beings have a very difficult time not judging each other based on a set of criteria that's internal to
But I
each
think that's,
individual person.
have you, well, okay, you know, never mind. What I was going to say isn't true.
Okay.
Because I judge myself horribly.
Oh,
And
I'm my own worst critic.
I never did before the computer, but there are things that I know how to do, but I can't do, and I get really frustrated with myself.
Hmm.
But when you judge, how do you handle self judgment? Do you have conversations with yourself?
I have very verbal conversations with myself.
Yeah.
I start out loud and cussing, and then I slowly bring it down into acceptance that it is not me, it is something else outside of me that's causing this. I am not responsible.
Hmm.
And if I am responsible, accepting it.
Yeah, I know. Well, mine was acceptance. I mean, as I said, I wake up every morning and I can't remember much of anything from my passion, my personality. I'm just, it's a void. And funny as I said, I have too many alpha waves. Like when I had my brain study years ago, goes with the channeling. I have twice the amount of alpha waves, but they're half the speed. That's from channeling, you know. But in that time, I used to say, "This isn't me," and I went, "No, it is me. It is me. I just have to accept. Where there's light, there's dark." And
Yes.
and that's my dark every morning, and the computer is too. I get really confused, and so I'll go like, God damn, and I get really upset because I lose control of my brain. Like it just goes on its own, and I can't control it, right? And I'll get frustrated, and I go, honey, you know, I love you way too much. Please don't talk to me like that. One of my girlfriends like, you're a reality show. Like just the conversations you have with yourself back and forth. But I think that's kind of normal, don't you think? I mean, not normal, but
Oh, I think it's normal.
Yeah, like we all have a shadow. Mine is frustration. When I get frustrated, I have trouble loving.
Oh man, I really, when I get frustrated, I have trouble dealing with me, let alone with anybody else.
Yeah, that's
And
it. Yeah.
frustration is another level of anger, not as intense as anger. However, it is as dangerous as anger.
I wonder if it's more dangerous because you're holding it in.
Yeah.
I bought a
Putting
punching
it
I
in,
bought a punching bag. And because I used to wake up every morning, I'm looking because I've done a lot of self reflection to go, how did I turn trauma to love? How did I seriously walk away from being sexually abused from the age of 2? Then, like my mom, there was emotional neglect. Teachers I told me didn't pay attention. There were a lot of things that happened that my life could have gone a whole different way,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, and one of the things I was looking at was that when I would always go like, I'm a fighter, I'm a fighter, 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 fighter. I fought with love though. That's a difference. But by doing this, right, I stopped doing that the past couple of years because when I got sick, I got exhausted. I didn't move. By not moving, all that frustration just sat within me,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I tell people like, get a punching bag, take a pillow, beat the wall. Even if you're not mad, just make a daily thing. Like, you know, it's actually fun once you start.
Yeah, I got a doll. It's called a damn it doll.
Damn it.
Damn
Yeah.
it. And you just,
You whack
damn
it.
it, damn
Yep.
it, damn it, damn it.
You know what another good one is? Oh, in the locker room. I've never been in a guy's locker room, but I see pictures where they do the wet towel. And
Yeah.
you do that. I was doing that against countertop once. Oh my God, it was a trip. I got my son doing it. But there are little things I did growing up where people thought it was really weird. And I see now it was a way of releasing that stuff. I would say to the kids, listen, I'm going to break a plate now. Don't worry, I'm fine. Boom. And I tell the kids, here, take a plate. Do it. It feels good. And I didn't know what I was doing. I just kind of felt like I needed to break a plate or bang on pots and pans. I kind of blowing bubbles, skipping, rolling down, things that I did intentionally do to keep the little kid alive, to lighten, to not take myself so seriously.
I've gotten to the point where I don't. It's taken me a long time.
Yeah.
Last week, well, our last show, of course, we had Dr. Diggs on, and he's the one who helped me the most get over some of this nonsense.
Yeah. Well,
There are, go ahead.
no, I was going to say, like, the last few years, I have taken myself too seriously because I'm finding out all this heavy stuff, right? But when I try to joke like I did before, because of traumatic brain injury, it left me very clumsy, dropping things. Like, I made a lot of goofy things that made life much more exhausting. And I see now that what I did was I poked fun at it. I didn't say I'm stupid, I'm whatever. I said, oh, girl, look what you did now. But when I say that now, people are like, you need to meditate. I'm like, oh my God, lighten up. Like, I need to take myself not seriously because otherwise, the past couple of years, I like remember calling a guy one day and I'm like, oh my God, I am exhausting. Like, it's exhausting to be me because it's constantly just picking up spills and doing. I have to not take that seriously. And I think with chronic illness is a serious thing that stops people. I mean, like when you don't physically have the energy, but when the world's telling you you can fix yourself, it's your fault, heal yourself, that's not helping people. Do you think it is?
No.
No. Because I tried all these things, and all it did, I spent $11,000 in 1 year on trying to, quote unquote, fix my brain. When all along I didn't want to fix my brain. I just want to learn how to work with it because it's not broken, right? But trying all those things made me so exhausted. I just didn't even care anymore. I'm like, oh, like just I'm at peace with me. I don't care. It's it's the world, isn't. It's yeah. I just go
Right
ahead.
now, I am not at peace with myself.
In the moment or in general?
In,
Like,
in,
is
in general, I mean, over the last 2 weeks. I'm
So
really
what causes?
not sick
What do you think
myself.
what threw you out of balance? You think?
I found a pretty good idea.
Yeah.
And, it's embarrassing, but I went on a dating site.
Hmm.
Actually, it was more of a hookup site than it was a dating site, but there were a lot of both going on. And I was very clear about what I was looking for, what I wanted, very clear about it. And all the responses were, they started going out very, they'd be lying to me, but they were being very kind and gentle and sweet and all this other stuff in the beginning. Then it gradually changed to demanding money or gifts
Mm.
and stuff like that. And I'm going, no, you're not getting anything out of me. I don't pay over the internet. I just don't do it. You don't get no money.
Yeah.
In the first place. In the second place, I ain't got none. If I had any, you wouldn't get it.
Yeah.
And they disappear for the most part. Or they hang around and argue with me. And this has been going on since the 1990s.
So are you angry at yourself then
Of course,
that you're out of whack, or
I-
not angry, but what's the word?
I'm frustrated with
Disappointed.
myself because I knew going into that was going to happen.
Yeah.
Like I said, since the 1990s, I've been and these off and on off and on dating sites. Looking for that. Well, as I put it in my profile, a healthy interpersonal relationship, long term.
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking for, and uh, it just gets shut down time after because I'm not paying attention to the signs. I see them, I know them, I'm aware of them, but I think, no, this is going to be different. And it
Yeah.
never is. I've met no one
So
who didn't
in
want
those,
my gifts. Or both.
yes, that's what I'm saying. Something inside you is saying, "Nah, don't do it. Don't. You've been here before, right?" But it's like our head, not our heart's telling us don't do it, but our head's saying, "Oh, I'm really lonely. Come on, this time will be different. Maybe they'll be different." And we want to see what we want to see, right? And that is the name of the game. But you've got to, before you see what you want to see, you have to listen to your heart. That I've always, 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 let me take that back. I haven't always. In the past 4 or 5 years, there have been a couple of times I've not listened to my heart because I've been scared. I felt lonely. I felt scared. I didn't know how to work with my brain and technology. And I panicked and I hired people who didn't really give a damn, right? But I was lonely at the same time. And that is a setup. When you're lonely and scared, that's how people who need to control take advantage, and it's, I don't know, it cost me in two things $25,000. That's how costly it was not to listen to my gut. Was I upset? I was mad at myself for a little bit, but I'm like, listen, you knew the signs. And I went, okay, well, you're in this new world of changing everything and you were scared. I forgive you. Like, that's my thing. If we learn how to listen to ourselves and we don't listen to ourselves, then it's a lesson. But you can't, I didn't listen to the calling for 2 years.
Mhm.
I went, I'm not paying attention. I love my job. I'm not leaving.
I,
And then, yeah,
I'm not so sure that I am afraid. I am scared. I am
yeah,
lonely. I may have I got COPD anyway,
yeah.
which may not be COPD. Maybe pulmonary fibrosis.
Mm, yeah.
I'll be finding out soon. I'm going in for a bunch of pulmonary tests here next week. And that has me scared of being alone.
Yeah. I would, that's valid. It is a scary. Yeah. And, you know, feeling that, and that's where I was. I'm alone, right? Like, and I mean, I live alone. And I went, if I can't use technology, I can't even find a vacation because I'm booking wrong hotels, right? And that's where I got into the first time in my life. I didn't feel safe with myself to take care of myself. And you might, and that's when trust comes in. You
Mhm.
can't look ahead. You know, in this society is so much for looking ahead, but your fears, your concerns are valid. One of the things I learned though, is instead of saying I am, it's like I feel fearful. I feel fearful. But
That's right.
what you just did was so brave, and that's so exactly what we need to do. We need to voice them because in our heads they hold a whole lot of power.
Yeah, they do.
They
I was
do.
a bit worried about doing it on live stream. I don't
I'm
know.
I am so I'm honored that you did this here. I really am, and I think that shows how strong and brave and courageous of an individual you are.
Thank you.
And it's going to benefit you in the long run, you know, and that's what I think we need to do for one another. Like, I'm fearful too. I'm just rolling. To be honest with you, I am banking solely on faith.
Yeah.
That's it. There's no evidence, nor there has there been, which is why I'll say the law of attraction, right? That's what they're teaching is incorrect. Like, I've been high vibrational my whole life. Hurt people come to me, not because they sense the openness, right? And I don't know, but we need to be here for one another.
Hmm.
And I'm here for you. I know you're there for me. Do we charge one another? No. We're here as human beings
Right.
to hold the space.
I
And I
don't
see
know.
my light in you. You see your light in me. We remind each other who we are. And
Yes.
things get a little less scary.
And we have a
You know?
bond, a
Yeah.
spiritual bond.
It is a spiritual bond. It goes way deeper than Dale and Leslie. It's like,
It
you know,
does because it happened the first time you were on my show. There was
yeah,
something there that I needed more. More, I needed to know more. I
yeah,
needed more from you. That's when I invited you back the second time, and since then I've invited you back a third time.
yeah,
Come back
yeah.
on the show.
And that's, you know, my whole thing about starting business. Like, I want to do a spiritual community. And actually, I was joking because people would call me a misfit. I'm not a misfit because there are no misfits. If we all stood in our truth, we'd see no one really fits, no one really belongs. But in our differences, we fit in this beautiful puzzle that we weren't born to fit in. We're born to stand out, you know?
Mhm.
And you just gotta, if I made any wrong moves or made my journey longer, it's because I didn't own my uniqueness the last 4 or 5 years. I
Yeah.
tried, I tried to work the way the world works. I don't work that way. I'm not designed to work that way.
If you ever felt half a step off of the rest of the world,
Did I ever what?
feel half a step ahead or behind the rest of the world,
I never did my whole life, past few years. Yeah. Like we were talking earlier, like when I come up, and this is because I did this for so many years and I didn't know what I was doing. It was just being. That's the whole thing. We have everything we need if we stop trying. But I, I see beneath people. I haven't mastered it online yet, but in person, I see someone's inside, who they are. And it's really hard when you're like that because sometimes I know things about people. I know who they are when they don't even know who they are.
yeah,
Right.
that's
So I
right.
feel the love in them, but the words and the actions are not who I know they are. And it's like, in relationships, it would cause a problem. Because I would go, like, I remember the one guy, it was like a year before he even realized it. I'm like, oh, what's wrong? He's like, nothing, everything's great. I'm like, in my body, I can feel it. I'm like, he's got the wall up. But
Yeah.
he didn't even know he had the wall up.
Yeah.
You know, so it does put you, I don't want to say it's just it's it's different.
Mhm.
You know.
I understand because I'm the same way.
Yeah. And
I
it's
don't.
hard because
I can't do it online very well, although I do.
Yeah.
Because these are just chat sessions, but they're not face to face. They're chat sessions
Yeah.
on these sites, and but I can still tell
Yeah.
within a few
I
messages.
I have a hard time because I'm so used to looking in people's eyes that I
Mhm.
try to put my camera up here because I
Yeah,
can't look here if you're there because I can't process what you're saying.
yeah,
So a lot of times it'll look like I'm not looking at the camera. That really bugs me. I need to look in one person's eyes. When I'm looking at a screen and there are like 5 or 10 people, my brain goes into overwhelm.
eyes.
Yeah, I turn my camera off. And I've had people say you have to have your camera on. I'm like, I gotta leave. I'm sorry, I'm listening. I just can't look and listen at the same time at
Yeah.
all of this stuff.
I It's because of the construction, because of the room, and I'm the way I am. And I can do this.
Yeah.
Oops, coming off.
Eh,
I can do this, turn this around a little bit, and you
Yeah.
get to see more of my lovely apartment. But I'm looking there, and I'm not seeing you. I
Yeah.
have,
I
to,
can't do yeah.
I have to be able to see you,
Yeah.
which
Me
means
too. Me too. And I don't know if that's it. It definitely it is the way my brain works when I have my brain studied. There were so many things that I uncovered that made my life make sense. But all these things doctors were trying to fix were the gifts of why I was able to turn trauma to love. Looking in people's eyes. That's what was really impactful for other people. Because when you maintain eye contact, and I was always vulnerable first because and when you maintain eye contact is when you see beneath our exterior, and
Mhm.
it's when you feel what's deeper in us. And it's but that doctors would have fixed if they knew about it. They would have tried to fix that optical nerve in there. But that was one of the greatest gifts.
Well, doctors are not well trained.
No, and you can't blame them. I mean, it's where our culture is, but we
Yeah,
have to change the cult. Like I've been going out trying to sell this oneness initiative. I want to go out in the world and like streets and just teach people how, give people the experience of it first, right? And everyone's like, "Well, that's not the way you do it." And I'm like, "Oh,
who cares?
the way we do it doesn't work. It hasn't worked. That's why it's this big of a mess." Like
Yes,
we need to do something different. And in order to do something drastically different, it's much easier to do it together.
much easier to build it, tear it down, and rebuild it.
That's it. I'm like, just let it go. Let the systems, it's all going to fall apart anyway. Let it go. And let's work together to build a new way of being.
Right.
And I've been, you know, and my life appeared to flow so easily that I thought this would be simple to do. To be honest with you, I came out going, oh shit, I understand why no one's listening, but it's really frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because it's so simple. So
That's the
simple.
problem.
It's so
Because
simple, it's hard to explain.
it's so simple, people can't believe it.
Yeah, I know. And that's why I said, like, I have to give people the experience because
Right.
until you feel it, when you hear me speak, it sounds great and inspiring, but I think it's so far from normal that people go like, yeah,
It's like alcoholics, and I was this way. What do you mean if I don't take the first drink, I can't get drunk?
mhm,
I ask my clients, how many drinks does it take to get you drunk? Well, the answer is one. And they're
yeah.
just flabbergasted. They just go, huh? No, no. If you don't take that first one, you ain't going to take the second one. You ain't
Yeah,
going to take the third one. You ain't going to take the, no, it ain't going to happen. You don't
yeah,
drink, you don't get drunk. It truly is that simple.
yeah.
But you can't.
But we aren't simple, and it's not a judging thing, though. I don't want
No,
when I talk and say whatever, I don't want anyone to blame, judge, or shame themselves. That's
no,
not my
no,
role. Like I like,
I can't do that. I can't
yeah,
change anybody.
we were kids. I just want you to like ask the question. You know, one of the things when I came out of work, like I knew what I did. I loved people into being, and it didn't take that long, an hour or two. That was it. That's all they needed to shift their perception of themselves. They needed a
Mm-hmm.
safe space to feel unconditionally loved and accepted. Do I charge for that? Hell no. Number one, because it benefits me. When I do that, it allows me to see my value as a human being. But coming out, everyone's like, what do you do? What do you do? And I did, like, I'm an inspirational speaker. Well, what do you offer? I'm the offer. Like my story that I was given. And I was saying it kind of humbly. I don't think I'm, but a couple of years ago, I remember seeing, going, I can't believe I'm freaking like drawing myself nuts trying to find a label for what I do that the world understands. I don't do one thing. They even called former patients. I'm like, what do I do? All right, sometimes you're
Why?
my friend, sometimes you're my nurse, sometimes you're a parent, sometimes we're multidimensional. We don't.
Why limit yourself by labeling yourself?
Yeah, well, here's what I realized just a year or so ago. I'm like, oh, I know why. Also, I have always and still do value my quote unquote gift. What I bring to the world is not in anything I do.
Mm.
It's my state of being, because it allows them a space to experience their state of being. So it doesn't matter what job I have, as long as I'm not frustrated,
Mm.
the results are going to be the same. But when I get frustrated because I'm trying to do something that's not inherently something my brain is wired to do, the answer is not to rewire my brain, because that's part of who I am. The answer is to find, if people trusted themselves more, I think we would trust one another more to do without having proof.
Yeah.
Like, I know my limitations. I know what I'm good at. I know what I'm not good at. I know, and one of the things I've always been really proud of, but it makes progress slower, is that I will not share information that I've not experienced over and over and gone through. Nowadays, people are out there. I've talked to tons of people, are coaches, grief coaches. Oh, how long you been doing this? Well, my mom died last year. That doesn't make you a coach. But when you're desperate, you just go to anyone to help you. And look, in reality, that first coach I hired, I ended up paying someone $1,000 a month for 12 months to be my friend when he wasn't my friend.
No.
But I missed my patients. So I paid, and I knew at some point, and 6 months in, I'm like, okay, I kind of know the moment I stopped paying him, but that's what sales is like, but I heard him like a year or two later on a call saying, if someone isn't going to be my client, I don't have time for them. And I just went, yeah, that's not me. I don't ever want to get to that point. I don't ever want to get to the point where I don't have, time for someone who's hurting. That's just not who I am.
No,
and I guess because I've been on that end for so many times, and I've dealt with it okay, because I learned to use my pain, but I still remember what it feels like.
We all do.
We all do. And that's what we need to remember. When we see someone hurting, that's you. You've experienced that pain. You may not have experienced what they're experiencing, but that's empathy is understanding the feeling, not the situation.
It is understanding the emotion of the moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's empathy.
That is empathy. You're exactly right. Yeah.
You understand that. And emotions are just emotions. They cannot hurt.
Yeah.
And
they're valid. But they're valid. Yeah.
And the thing, Leslie, there was no such thing as a negative emotion.
Mm-mm.
There's no such thing as a positive emotion.
Yeah.
They're all just emotions. It's how you deal with them that causes the negative and positive connotation.
Yeah.
So if you get angry and throw something, it's not the anger that's throwing the thing.
Right. The thing with anger and throwing. Right. Well, if I'm in my place and I want to throw something, and I sit and go, I want to throw this. Okay, nothing's going to break. No one's going to be hurt. Go ahead and friggin' throw it.
Amen.
Why not? But even when I say, like, I have to be who I am, I take into consideration other people's feelings. Or when I go to a different country, I may want to like be wild, whatever, but I know that's not the way they roll. So I kind of like go, okay, subdue yourself a little bit. But what I won't do is I will always speak my truth.
Yes.
And if
You
my
have
truth makes other people uncomfortable, so be it, because I think my truth is not anything to be
goal.
offended. It's your truth. It's everyone's truth. We are love at our core.
Well,
That's
that's
it.
right. It's the
Yeah.
goal to make them uncomfortable.
Yeah, I guess so. That
Because
was hard for
you're
me
not going
though.
to change. You're not going to change if you're comfortable.
Yeah.
So you've got to make them uncomfortable to make them move to a new spot.
Yeah. I mean, that's not my intent. I just want to connect with people. I said to someone the other day, we were talking, and she's like, "Well, what do you want to talk about?" I'm like, "Listen, I just want to talk to a woman as a woman, not as a business owner, not as this. Not can we just not talk as two people without an agenda?" And they're like, "No, I'm too busy. Well, we're in deep shit if people can't talk anymore because they
Yeah.
don't have the time. Because this emotional intimacy that you and I are having, that I can have with anyone I hop on the call with because I have no protection on, that emotional intimacy is what keeps me resilient and allows me to feel one with the world, right? Look at most marriages. Why do people cheat? Is it the physical aspect of sex? Not unless you're drunk or whatever, but most people go outside of a marriage because the emotional intimacy is missing within.
Right. Agreed.
It's emotional intimacy. That's what vulnerability is. It's willing to say, I need people. I'm not embarrassed to say, I don't need a lot of friends. I don't need anything from you, but I need connection. I need this emotional intimacy. Little bits at a time. 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, 10 minutes there. No skin off anyone's back.
I am still afraid. I still have the armor on.
But you don't, but see, you just shared something very personal with not only me, but with other people. That's brave. That's not the armor, dude. You might feel uncomfortable about sharing, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But you did it. That's not armor.
Being uncomfortable forces you to change.
Yeah.
If you don't like what if you don't, if you're uncomfortable, say, if you're in a chair and it's uncomfortable, you get up and change chairs.
Yeah.
Just that simple.
Well, see, I've done life backwards. I always walk towards the uncomfortable because I always want to know.
You have to.
How can I figure out how to get out of this situation? Let me jump into the deep hole.
Because you know them, because you have to change.
No, it wasn't because I had to change. I think I walked towards the uncomfortableness because each time I found comfort in the uncomfortableness,
Right.
I built self-confidence. But I didn't have to change. It was just I needed to know, I need to be able to trust myself.
Yeah, poor choice of words, change.
I don't like the word change. I really don't.
No, I
Because
don't
change means there's something wrong with you.
The poor choice of words. I don't have a need. My vocabulary is not that large.
Yeah.
Hey, we'll run it out of minutes.
All right. But seriously, Dale, let me ask you a question.
Sure.
Last one. Do I make you uncomfortable?
No.
Then you don't have the armor on. That's through all the experiences I've had, because there's no actual way of knowing. But for me, what I feel with other people, I can tell when people have the armor on. And the way they can tell is if you come up to an authentic person and someone's just being totally authentic and vulnerable and you're kind of cringing, chances are you're in the armor. Nothing wrong with that. Went on as kids, but you need your first thing before you do anything is to try to see yourself. And that in the mirror is where you're going to find the answer. Just seeing yourself, not judging, no good, no bad, not trying to fix anything. Just see it. That's it.
Yeah. Okay, I got you.
Sorry.
In fact, I don't feel uncomfortable around you. I feel quite comfortable.
Yeah,
like
I don't think you have the armor.
It's like I've known you for years, not just a few months.
Yeah. Look, it's scary what you just did, but you did that.
Yeah, I did.
You did it. Here's the thing about being open and vulnerable. I learned a long time ago, if I have nothing to hide, I got nothing to fear from the world.
Mm-hmm.
If and I'm not saying I delve on my whatever, but when I was the past couple of years, when I was really going through it, it was bad. It was not typical of me. People would say, "We have to go and share your story." I'm like, not well, I will share anything, but not when I'm in the middle of it, because in the middle of it, that's me and me. And
Mm-hmm.
also, I'm not going to put out the energy that I want to. You
Yeah.
know, when I'm frustrated, I don't go out into the world. I will never speak on here because I don't want that frustration to be
No.
shared.
You
I
know.
hide it until I take care of it and figure it out. Mhm.
Yeah. Well,
All
let
right,
me
dude.
get out of off of
What's
schedule.
that?
I gotta put us out of there, and because we're out of time. That doesn't mean we got three
We
comments. We got three
okay.
comments here, Leslie.
Oh, I don't even see the chat screen. Hold on. And that's another thing. I will apologize. I have a really hard time listening,
Okay,
talking,
here's
and
three
listening.
comments we've gotten so far.
All right. Is there
Negative
anything we can
self-talk
answer?
negative self-talk is never good. It starts each morning with a thought. Learning new habits takes time. Best words of the year.
That's what?
Best words of the year. Yap. I
Oh,
don't know what we were talking about when this came through, but they're from a person called Dead America.
okay. Yeah. Oh, he or she popped in last week too. Remember that? Negative talk,
It's never good.
negative self talk can, if you're aware you're talking negatively, it can guide you to talking more positively, right? Like if I say to myself, God, I'm so stupid, but then I go, ho, 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 cancel that. You are not stupid. You might have just done a stupid thing, but you are not stupid.
Right.
Well, that
Exactly.
negative talk, I shifted it to a positive.
Right.
You got
Right.
to challenge it. So I don't think negative talk in itself is bad if it fuels challenging a shift to positive talk.
Just like I used to tell my kids, I love you very dearly. They've done something wrong.
Yeah.
But I look at my kid, my son, whichever one it was, or all three, say, I love you dearly, but right now I'm not real happy with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're right.
Yeah, or I would say to my kids too, because kids are kids. And I said, listen, I love you, and I know you love me, but I'm not always going to like you, and you're not always going to like me, and that is okay. That's
Yes.
okay not to like me. It's
Yes.
okay. My dad was one who was like, the moment I became an adult and started speaking my own, which was actually it was before adulthood, he got all, you don't love me, and I'm like, just because I disagree with you doesn't mean I don't love you. Like, it just means we have differences of opinions for two different people,
Hmm.
and that's with all of us. I do very much love. I've never met a person I couldn't hold a space for unconditional love acceptance, except for that one 5-year-old. But I don't like everybody. But I want to be friends with everyone. No, like, but I still love them. There's
I do. Uh, Mainly, I love, it says in the Bible, love thy enemy,
yeah,
love thy neighbor as
yeah,
thyself, or love thy neighbor as thyself. Uh, so that's part of the reason. And the other part of the reason is I don't want to waste the energy on you.
yeah.
It's
Well,
easier to love than it is to hate.
yes, and here's the thing though, if we can look at love, because I don't think we really understand, like when I say love, I don't mean that intimate type of love. I mean love like, God, I love the smell of rain. Like I
Yeah.
love this. Like it's just, but I look at love as listening with objectivity and vulnerability to empower. That is love.
Yeah.
Listen, whether it's self-love, that's how my self-love is. I
Hmm.
listen with objectivity and vulnerability to empower myself and others.
Right.
And that's my definition of love.
Yeah,
And
that's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah.
actually, it's not mine. Jonathan Chambers, who I interviewed once, came up with that
Yeah.
acronym. He
There's
decided to use it,
uh,
but I'm gonna give him credit for that.
since the last 20,000 years. They've been trying to define love.
Yeah.
From Aristotle and his kind, all the way down to John Lennon, and nobody's defined it perfectly
Yeah.
because there's so many different facets of it.
It's an energy. If we can just think of things like at least love, like even God, I think of God as an energy. Do I believe everything in the Bible? I don't know. I wasn't there. I don't just believe anything until I experience it or until I hear it. I don't disbelieve it, but I think God's an energy.
Yes.
It's an energy of love, I don't know.
I'm gonna have to take us out of the line stream.
All right. Well, listen, put your hand on your heart with me